So, picture this. Long before anyone was flipping a coin to make a decision, people in what we now call South Africa had their own economy. It was a whole system, but without a single shiny piece of metal. You couldn't just tap your card to buy a snack. No, if you wanted something, you had to have something someone else wanted. This was the original social network, but for stuff. Trade was the name of the game, and everyone was a player. It was all about barter, a direct swap of goods and services. It was simple, direct, and probably involved a lot more haggling than we're used to today. What were they trading? Well, it wasn't stocks and bonds. People traded things that were genuinely valuable for survival or status. Think beautiful ostrich eggshell beads, carefully crafted and strung together. These were like the original jewelry, the first bit of bling. They also traded livestock. A cow wasn't just a cow, it was wealth on four legs. You could trade it for grain, tools, or other important things. Things like iron and copper were also big deals. Local communities would trade these metals, which were then skillfully turned into tools, weapons, and ornaments. It was a system built on real, tangible value. This system worked for centuries. Different groups like the Khoisan and various Bantu-speaking peoples had complex trade networks that stretched across the land. They weren't just trading with their neighbors, they were part of a huge economic web. They traded ivory, animal skins, and even salt, which was super important back then. It was a world where your wealth was something you could see, touch, or heard. You knew exactly what you had because it was right there in front of you. No need for a bank statement when your bank account is literally mooing in the backyard. Everything was based on relationships and reputation. When you had to trust the person you were trading with. Was their grain good? Were their cattle healthy? It was a very personal kind of commerce. There was no central bank, no exchange rate you could check on an app. The value of something was determined by need, supply, and good old-fashioned negotiation. This entire way of life, this intricate system of barter and trade, was the foundation of the economy before the first ships from Europe appeared on the horizon, bringing with them a crazy new idea: money. Then, in 1652, the whole game changed. The Dutch East India Company, or the VOC, rocked up at the Cape. They weren't there for a holiday, they were setting up a pit stop for their ships, and with them, they brought coins. Suddenly, there was this new thing. Little metal discs that were supposed to be worth something. The Dutch brought their own money, like the guilder and the stiver. For the local people, this must have been a very weird concept. Why would you trade a whole cow for a handful of small, shiny circles? It was like trading a pizza for the box. The Dutch tried to get the local Khoi people to accept these coins for their cattle and sheep, but it was a tough sell. The locals were like, I can't eat this, I can't wear it. What am I supposed to do with it? So for a long time, barter and coin-based trade existed side by side. The Dutch used coins among themselves, but often had to go back to trading things like tobacco, alcohol, and copper wire to get the fresh supplies they needed from the indigenous population. It was a messy, confusing mix of two completely different economic worlds crashing into each other. Fast forward about 150 years, and a new player enters the scene: the British. They took over the Cape, and of course they brought their own money. Out went the Dutch guilders, and in came British pounds, shillings, and pence. It was like your favorite show getting a reboot with a whole new cast. The British were a bit more forceful about making their currency the standard. They established a more formal colonial system, and with it, their money became the official way to do business, pay taxes, and get paid for work. The old barter system was pushed further and further to the margins. This period was a real mixed bag of currency. You had British coins, but you also had Spanish dollars, Indian rupees, and a bunch of other coins that sailors and traders left behind. It was a monetary soup. Imagine opening your wallet and finding 5 different types of money. It made things complicated. This chaos made one thing clear. For South Africa to have a real unified economy, it needed its own single currency, but getting there would take a long time. The country was still a collection of colonies, not a single nation with the power to make its own money. Okay, so after all that chaos with Dutch money and British money, South Africa finally started to get its act together. In 1910, the Union of South Africa was formed. This was a huge deal. It was like the Avengers assembling, but with provinces instead of superheroes. For the first time, the country was one political entity. This new union gave South Africa the power to do a lot of things for itself, and one of the most important was the power to control its own money. No more relying on whatever coins the British felt like sending over. The country could finally mint its own currency. It took a little while to get everything set up. You can't just decide to make money one day and have it the next. You need a mint, the factory where they actually make the coins. The Pretoria Mint was established, and the country got ready to produce its very first official coins. This was more than just about money. It was a statement of national identity. It was South Africa saying, we're our own place now, with our own economy and our own future. It was a step away from being just a part of the British Empire, and a step towards being a nation in its own right. The big moment came in 1923. This was the year the first truly South African coins rolled off the presses. And they were beautiful. They were based on the British system of pounds, shillings, and pence, so the sizes and values were familiar. But the designs were all South Africa, and most importantly, for our story, some of them were made of silver. These weren't just any coins, they were the first silver coins that the nation could truly call its own. It was a moment of immense pride. After centuries of using other people's money, South Africa finally had its own silver. The design of these 1923 coins was a big deal. On one side, you had the head of the British monarch, King George V, because South Africa was still part of the Commonwealth. But the other side, the reverse, was where the magic happened. And here's a killer detail. The coins were bilingual. For the first time, the words on the coins appeared in both English and Afrikaans. You had South Africa and Zuid-Afrika. This was a massive political and cultural statement, acknowledging the two main European languages of the new nation. These coins weren't just for spending, they were telling a story. These new silver coins quickly became a part of everyday life. People used them for everything, from buying bread to paying for a haircut. The coins were made of 80% pure silver, which gave them a nice weight and a real sense of value. When you held a silver shilling or a florin, you felt like you were holding something substantial. It wasn't just a token, it was actual precious metal. This made people trust the currency. The silver content linked the money directly to a valuable commodity, which gave everyone confidence in the economic system of the young nation. For nearly 2 decades, these silver coins were the standard. They jingled in pockets and filled up cash registers across the country. The designs remained largely the same, a familiar and reassuring presence in a world that was heading towards massive turmoil. But then, World War II happened. The war changed everything, and that included money. Wars are incredibly expensive, and countries needed every resource they could get their hands on. Silver, being a valuable metal, was suddenly in high demand for the war effort, not for making coins. After the war, the world was a different place. The price of silver shot up, and it became too expensive to keep making coins with 80% silver content. So, in 1951, South Africa made a big change. The silver purity in coins was dropped to 50%. The coins looked similar, but they contained a lot less of the precious metal. It was a practical decision, driven by economics. The days of high-purity silver money were coming to an end. The value of the coin was becoming more about what the government said it was worth, and less about the metal it was made from. This was just the beginning of the end for silver in circulation. The final nail in the coffin came in 1961. This was another huge year for South Africa. The country became a republic and left the Commonwealth. To mark this change, it introduced a brand new currency, the rand and cent system we know today. This was a complete overhaul. The old British-style pounds and shillings were gone, and with them, so was silver. The new coins were made of cheaper metals like nickel and copper. Silver coins were officially retired from daily use, marking the end of an era. So, what happened to all the silver? Well, it didn't just disappear, it just got a new job. After 1961, silver coins were no longer for buying your daily groceries. Instead, they became something special. They transitioned from being money to being collectibles and investments. The South African Mint started producing special silver coins specifically for this market. These modern coins, like the famous silver Krugerrand, are not meant to be spent. They are beautiful high-purity silver pieces designed for people who want to own a piece of precious metal. It's money that's too fancy to be money. These modern silver coins are a whole different ball game. They are what's known as bullion. Their value isn't written on the coin itself. It's tied directly to the daily market price of silver. People buy them as a way to invest, a hedge against inflation. It's like buying a tiny bar of silver, but way cooler because it has a springbok on it. This has created a huge global market for South African silver. Collectors and investors from all over the world want these coins, not for what they can buy, but for what they are: pure, valuable silver, beautifully crafted by the South African Mint. And this brings us back to the originals, those first silver coins from 1923. Why are they so important today? Because they are more than just old money. They are historical artifacts. A 1923 silver shilling is a time capsule you can hold in your hand. It represents the birth of a modern, independent South African economy. It tells the story of the union, the blending of cultures, and that groundbreaking decision to include both English and Afrikaans. For collectors, finding one of these in good condition is like finding gold, or, well, silver. Ultimately, the journey of South Africa's silver coin is the story of South Africa itself. It starts with a land of barter and diverse local economies. It moves through the disruptive period of colonialism, with its foreign currencies. It climaxes with the proud moment of minting its own national bilingual coins. And it ends in the modern era, where silver is a symbol of wealth and a link to the past. That first silver coin from 1923 is not just a collector's item, it's a piece of the nation's soul, forged in metal and rich with history.